Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today on what is episode 6 of MotorServ-TV, which is now also our podcast on Spotify and all other platforms. Today I'm very happy and privileged to welcome the one and only Siam Kidd. Siam Kidd, a former RAF pilot turned full-time trader and business investor, is here to share his story and to give us a bit of insight into his world and what he thinks is going to happen in the future of business and markets. Siam is a self-taught trader who's been on an incredible journey from losing nearly everything to now running a multi-million-pound portfolio and achieving massive success. Siam has predicted and successfully traded many market highs and lows, with his record being a £422,000 profit in just 30-minute window during the Black Monday crash of 2015. Siam has a massive following on social media and now teaches his methods across his educational platform, Realistic Trader, where he's taught thousands of people how to trade successfully and has amassed well over 100 hours of recorded content. He's a regular speaker at many worldwide events and has recently completed his Crypto World Tour and was a key speaker at the Las Vegas US Money Show event. We are very lucky to have Siam here today, so let's get stuck in. So thanks, Siam, for joining us today. It's really, really good to see you. It's been quite a while. I've obviously known you since, I think, 2015. I've even been on one of your courses, or a couple of your courses. So thank you very much for coming up from Norwich all this way. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's all very fancy and posh here. Excellent. I'm pleased you like it. And thanks for bringing your absolutely awesome Aston Martin as well.
Thank you.
I'm sure the drive up wasn't too laborious for you.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's probably quite good to let it get out and stretch his legs a little bit.
Oh, speed cameras all the way here though.
Oh, so you sat on cruise the whole way. Yeah, like a good boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So, have to say though, I see so much of your stuff online. Obviously I've done your courses, I've seen so much of your YouTube content that even now when I meet you in person, it's a little bit like I'm a bit starstruck. Oh man, I'm a nobody from Norwich. But it's really strange because obviously when you see someone so much on the media, on social media and stuff, and on all your TV interviews and stuff that you've done, it is awesome to have you here. So thank you very much for coming. So just hope the videos help. No, definitely. It's to be fair, the whole podcast, this whole series, I hope our viewers and listeners are enjoying them, but they've been really good, and obviously we're adding different elements to everything. So, and today we're going to hear obviously all about yourself and your story, so it's going to be awesome. Cool. So let's start from your story, really, your whole journey. So you were an RAF pilot to start with. So you left, did you leave school and go straight into that? Was it college and then? Yeah, straight after school. Did A-levels and then joined up and flew all over the world, loved it. It was great. Fantastic. So were you in any kind of combat situation? No, unfortunately not. Okay, just exercises. I destroyed my career before that, so trading got in the way. Oh, so, brilliant. Yeah, because that's, so how did you go from, like, obviously you're RAF pilot, you did really well in it, and obviously you were doing all the missions and everything else, but did you start trading while you were in the RAF then? Yeah, I joined the Air Force and started trading when I was 18 at the same time, pretty much. Oh, brilliant. And then officers training was like 10 months, whatever. So trading took a back burner during then because I didn't have access to computers and stuff. Yeah. And then, after that, I was juggling both. And to begin with, the Air Force career was doing all right, and my trading was pants. And then eventually, when I started making money, my career went down the pan. And I started failing really basic tests. Just because I remember one time I was flying low level, and all I was thinking about was my pound dollar trade and how that was going, and I was like, it's a bit dangerous now, so best time to leave, I think. Yeah. So how old were you then? That scare was when I was 23, but it took me a whole year to summon up the courage to quit my cushy life, so to speak, because I was leading. I had a really good job. And income was not good, but all your expenses are pretty much covered. But it was like
do I jump from, this cushy job into being a full-time trader? And that, it's a massive unknown.
Yeah.
So
stepping back into kind of civil life, isn't it? Like
yeah.
Armed forces. Where were you based?
All over the place, but
really?
at the end of the line, I was at RAF Lynham, so I was on the Herc just before I left.
Brilliant.
And yeah, that was like a really hard year. I remember just every day I was like, I don't want to be here, don't want to be here, and I was just obsessed with my trading. And
wow.
yeah, I was like a cocky 22, 23-year-old driving around base in an Aston Martin, and didn't get that good attention. Yeah.
Oh God.
Sort of.
So what
cringe.
made you get into like trading? What drew you into it? So at the age of 18 you started?
Yeah, I just thought my criteria, because I'm naturally quite lazy, so I thought, how can I make money on my laptop, in my underwear, in bed? Maximum, result, minimum effort. And I came up with gambling and trading. I thought trading seems a bit hard, so let's try gambling. And then my gambling career lasted about a night. Where basically I thought I came up with a system of, if I just do roulette, go black or red, just double up every time I lose. I now know it's called the martingale system. It'll be fine. So I turned like a couple £100 into like 3.5 grand in like an hour. It was amazing. And I went to dinner and told all my mates. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I've beaten gambling. And then after dinner, they all came in. There was like 10 of us in the room. I was like, it's simple. Just double up every time I lose. And then I blew several grand in like 15 minutes. Everyone left, and I was like, got to earn this all back. And then like by 2, 3 in the morning, I'd lost all of my gains, got a 5 grand loan from a Virgin credit card, blew that, and I didn't sleep that night. And I was like, shit, I'm now 5 grand in debt as an 18-year-old. And to me, I was like, oh my God, I'm going bankrupt. Or what? It was a big deal back then.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Yeah, and so I was like, I'll never gamble again, and I haven't since. So.
So then you chose a road of trading.
Yeah, I thought,
instead.
let's do trading. That seems more structured, and and then I proceeded to lose relentlessly for the next 4 to 6 years.
So that was like during your whole RAF career.
Yeah, basically.
So how did you find the time to do it? Was it literally you just doing it part time on the side?
Yeah, I was normally doing it in any nook and cranny of the day, any free time. And there are periods of flying where you just don't do much. I mean, towards the end of the career, I was doing probably 1 flight a month, 1 or 2 flights a month. And the rest of the time I was just playing golf and trading. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So, yeah, because I've always been, my sort of cohort, we're always at the breast of like Air Force cutbacks. And we're always like the cohort that got all of the cutbacks. And so, yeah, there wasn't much flying by the end of it. I went,
Right. So so it's a good transition then. So when you first started trading, so what was your method? Did you just launch yourself into it, or did you read books or research it?
It was Alta Vista back then, and I remember Alta Vistaing some, how to trade or whatever. Came up, found some sort of shitty moving average crossover system, and I was just basically a holy grail hunter. I was like trying to hunt for the holy grail of trading systems, which doesn't exist, by the way. And then, that's why I spent 4 to 6 years in like what I call the wilderness, where I was just basically bleeding money hand over fist every month. So
it's quite, you had some perseverance to keep at it.
Yeah, thing is, I'm a gamer, so like I have an obsessive personality, and with things that I like to do or want to do, it really annoys me if I'm shit at it. So if I'm crap, I'm like, I treat life like a computer game. So if you fail, okay, you don't cry in the corner, you just go, you hit reset, don't do that again. And I treated trading like that. And I thought, if others can do well on the markets, it means it can be done.
Yeah.
It's not a non-zero, outcome. And so I just did it, And back then, I remember my take-home salary was £2,200 a month. Yeah. I used to blow 200 quid a month in the bar, and in the officers' mess bar, like a pint was like 70p, and a shot of vodka was like 10p. You'd get pissed quite a lot on 200 quid, and then I used to blow 2 grand a month on the markets. Sometimes I'd blow it in a day, sometimes it would take a couple of weeks to blow, but eventually it would take a couple of months to blow up, and by that time I'd screw up less and less and less, and so I'm nothing special. I just don't know what landmines not to stand on.
Brilliant.
Yeah, just idiot. Yeah, just an idiot who never gave up.
Yeah. So where did you meet your wife? Was that
2008 in the office pub. It was like on Halloween, and me and my best mate were in fancy dress. He was Banana Man, I was a Red Hot Chili Pepper. Went into this bar, no one was in fancy dress other than 3 massive giant pumpkins at the other end of the club. So we were like, vegetables attract. And then I pulled the pumpkin. So.
So they got the memo as well about the fancy dress?
No, they were just on a random Halloween night out,
right.
and no one else was in fancy dress. Yeah. So.
Brilliant. That's a great story. So when you left the RAF, so 23, 24?
25 in the end, yeah.
And then you launched, so you just went into it full time then?
Yeah, and within 3 months I was broke. I blew the lot. Yeah. So the year that I'd left, I'd had a really good year, or a really good 18 months, and which led me into a sense of I'm Billy Big Balls, I'm a good trader now. I can go full-time trading. Screw you other pilot friends, you're missing out here. And then within 3 months, over cockiness blew my whole, so I ended up jobless, 0 savings. I applied for literally shelf stacking jobs at Tesco, Sainsbury's and Asda. They all turned me down. Loads of jobs turned me down. Some recruiter said that they thought I was taking the piss because I went from pilot to trying to get a job for 16 grand a year or 8 at the time. And then in the end, I got an admin job at some recruitment company at like 18 grand a year.
Yeah, so you did that just to kind of create that stability.
I needed income because yeah, that sucked.
So how would you think, what were you doing wrong at that time? Just launching into
trading-wise?
Yeah, trading-wise.
Overconfidence led me to thinking every trade I would place would hit target. So I ended up over-leveraging, which meant basically betting too big per trade. So typically, I normally trade, so if you have a pot, in fact, if you give someone 100 quid and go to the casino, even the most sensible person will probably make every bet like 10% of the pot. I'll 10 quid a roll or 5 quid or whatever. But in trading terms, like that's way too much leverage. So every trade I normally place, I'm only risking 0.1 to 0.25% of the whole pot per trade. So let's say you're risking 0.1% max risk per trade. If I have 10 losing trades in a row, I'm only down 1%. So it doesn't hurt you. Whereas back in the day, I was going out, doing 10% max risk, which means 5 bad trades in a row, you've halved your account.
Yeah,
and then if you halve your account, you need to make 100% ROI just to get back to break even.
Yeah.
So betting too big killed me, and a few other, and over trading, hunting for trades, forcing trades which really weren't there. Every mistake under the sun, sorry.
So when you started, so you got your admin job.
Yep.
And then you were still trading on the side. At what point would you say that was, you didn't need a job anymore and you started to become independent?
That was brutal because that was a humbling year where we were broke. Ellie and I, we were that hard up because she didn't have a job back then that we literally struggled to choose between. I mean, there was one day we were both in Lidl and Ellie, my wife now, she had cheese in one hand and mayonnaise in the other and just like shrugged because we were too poor to choose, decide which, we couldn't afford both. In the end, we just didn't choose any of them because they were luxuries, cheese and mayonnaise, and then we just bought more pasta. And literally I lived on Marmite pasta for the best part of 2 years. But the annoying thing is, after a while I got consistent with trading again, but I had no money. I had like 500 quid in my trading pot and my shitty admin job, and I was like, I'm doing really well with my trading, but I had no pot. So I remember in that year, the year after that, I'd made like 22% or something like that. But 22% on a 500 quid pot is bugger all.
Yeah, you can't live off it.
Yeah, so then I realised I had to somehow get scale. How could I get more capital? So I then got 2 jobs, then 3 jobs, and then whilst I was doing 3 jobs, I tried to set up a part-time online-based business, and then eventually that business did all right, and then I went down to 2 jobs, then 1 job, and then than full-time. But
Brilliant.
yeah, two part-time jobs and a third pulling pints in a pub.
Wow.
So yeah, so I was literally doing like 15 hours a day, like every day.
Wow.
So.
And Ellie's,
she
stood by you, and it's been great.
She got a job as well at that point.
Yeah.
So at one point we both were like, we both got 20 grand a year salaries.
Yeah. But what would you say? Yeah, because you said that the £500 pot wasn't enough. What would you say when you started getting good consistency? How big was your pot to start with?
Well, yeah, it was around 500 quid.
Yeah.
When I started getting good
yeah.
consistency, and then it was a case of how the hell do I get capital?
And just pile it in.
Yeah, because I couldn't go and get a loan for 500 grand or 100 grand or anything. I couldn't. So I soon realised that the methods I was doing, as in like jobs and stuff, would never build my pot up. And I realised that if you analyse every rich person that has earned their wealth, not trust fund babies or anything, most of the time, I would say something like 95% or more earned it through business. And I was like, oh shit, I need to be a business owner. So then I went all in on business, like how can I be a business owner? What business do I set up? Blah, blah, blah. And then, the first 4 businesses I tried to do just flopped or didn't take off, or, I didn't know how, I had no business skills. I didn't know how to create leads. Without leads, you have no sales. Without sales, you have no business, really.
Of course.
And then lucky number 4 or 3 did well. And then, so the way that I orchestrate things now is that you generate fast income via businesses, and then you siphon off any surplus distributable profits from the businesses into your investment pots. And then your trading or investing activity simply amplifies whatever you have. So,
of course.
It's I guess you need 2 skills. You need the skill to amplify a pot of money, and also another skill where you generate income. So that's why business and trading really do go hand in hand.
No, brilliant. So when once everything's stabilised and you're doing really well, because obviously you help other people now, you set a Realistic Trader.
Yeah.
What point did that come?
That was 2013. Trading is really lonely. So it got to the point where my wife was like, going to family events or whatever, you're not allowed to talk about trading or money or investing because,
put everyone to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And no one knows what you're on about. And it was really lonely, just like trading. There were random online forums back then, but everyone was just a moon boy, just trying to, get rich quick or whatever. And I thought, let's just set up some sort of trading club or like a coffee meeting, whatever. And it starts off as like a very, just meeting up for coffee or whatever. And then I realized having a cool community was pretty cool. And actually, by teaching, it kept me on the straight and narrow, so to speak, because it's weird. You can very easily break your own trading rules. Whereas if you're constantly teaching and also sharing what you're doing, you have to stay on tip-top form, because I actually hate the whole trading industry. Everyone's a charlatan or a pretender or just a marketer, and there's no transparency. So like, for as long as I can remember, every trade I've ever placed, I text out in real time. So anyone that's around me can see me losing or winning, So yeah, and that hasn't stopped. So
brilliant. And so Realistic Trader, because that's where I first I met you through the business group. How's that all going nowadays?
Yeah, it's good. It's just a small
club now.
Yeah, it's a small community. We've got about 300 traders.
That's quite big.
I don't know.
That's a reasonable size.
It's good. I like quality over vast quantity. And the cool thing about our community is that everyone is actually realistic, and we're not trying to get rich quick, etc. And they're all learning like proper skills, etc. So you can actually, when you're chatting at we will have big meetups every 2 months. You can chat at a relatively high level. And I could easily pick any of the community members, put them in a random group, and they'll know more about investing, trading, the markets than the average Joe by a country mile. So proud of them.
And how many of those guys would you say you've taught from scratch?
Like nearly all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So I bet there's a good feeling of pride in that.
Yeah, it's good.
All, and are they all kind of following the rules? And
Not
do it
everyone. And
so
also,
you made some charlatans.
yeah. The annoying thing is, like, I would love to sit here and say everyone I've ever taught is now minted and is doing really well. But like with anything, take school, for example. We all went to school. Everything is standardized as possible. Like, let's take maths. You all have you're all cohorted into the same age group. You're all sat there listening to the same teacher at the same time, same workbook, same syllabus, same everything. Yeah. Yet when you do the exam at the end of the year, you all get different results. You're either shit at maths or good at, or average. Yeah. And the normal distribution applies with everything. Everything within 2 sigma is about 96%. So most people, by literal default, will be average, and you have those that are really good and really bad. And you all learn from the same person, Trading is the same. I've taught the exact same thing to everyone. Yeah. But some people go and blow their account straight away because they don't have a handle on their own emotions. Some people are really good because they're really meticulous, and I'll just stick to the rules. I found that academically smart people are the worst students.
Really?
Yeah, like they're horrendous sometimes. Like, scientists are the worst, and it's weird because I've always struggled teaching scientists and doctors and engineers, because they listen and go, yep, and then they'll I see what you're saying, but I'll do it my way instead. I'm being broad brush here. They'll think, I know it better, And because they just don't stick to the freaking rules, which I've had 19 years to come up with these rules, they then go and lose, and they're like, this is shit, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you're not even you're doing your own rules. Whereas, I've had loads of car mechanics do really well. Really well, and builders as well. And I think it's because they're like, I'm just going to do what you say, and then
follow the manual.
Yeah. So it's weird, but I'm not saying you shouldn't have an analytical mindset, but at least try the rules out first, and then obviously tweak over time.
Yeah, because obviously the rules exist for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to fall into the pitfalls, and obviously if they jump into the pitfalls with both feet.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So, I've seen all your stuff, so basically forex trading and then market trading and all the rest of it. I think the big thing in my mind, which I'm not quite sure about, and I think it's sometimes a bit of the elephant in the room, crypto.
Yeah.
Is it good, or is it? I know it's very generalising to ask. Is it good or is it bad?
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on it? Because I know you're a bit of a fan.
Yeah, it's the evolution of money and the revolution of trust. So I was the biggest crypto hater and critic for a long time. I got into Bitcoin and crypto around 2012, and just to test it out, it was a new market. I was what's this? And I hated it. I was it's just weird, fancy monopoly internet money that has no real utility, no blah, 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 blah. And back then, that pretty much was the case. And I used to go, it's booms and crashes and all that sort of stuff. And then around 2016, I had another look at my opinion data set and realized I was wrong. So I have a firm belief that your opinions should be written in sand, not titanium, and that you should always interrogate the data set from which you base your opinions on. So, even to say someone asked me my opinion on something, before I answer, I'll have a little check, I'll check myself before I wreck myself and just go, wait a minute, is this opinion based on valid current data, or is it an opinion I'm harboring from 5 years ago? Yeah. And so when I re-looked at the market, and I was like, oh shit, crypto's real, for so many different ways. So it is the evolution of money, because money is very clunky and it's antiquated, and it's archaic basically. So for example, even now in 2023, if let's say a big company wanted to send $1 billion cross borders, it's basically T+3. It'll take 3 days to reach finality, and you got currency oscillations during that time, and you got fees. So let's say it's at best quarter % fees. So you're spending millions just to transfer stuff. Whereas with crypto, even Bitcoin, you can send an unlimited amount of money cross borders with finality within 10 minutes, with next to zero fees. So I mean, obviously that's just one use case, but the underlying tech behind it, so distributed ledger technology, is what I like to think is the revolution of trust, because everything in that runs our world really needs trust. So if you're buying a car, all commerce really needs trust. Like voting needs trust, buying a house needs trust, buying anything from someone needs trust. And so with DLTs, or most people know it as blockchain, you basically bypass that trust because it's there, it's open. Like the easy way to look at a blockchain, it's like a massive Google spreadsheet that the world can see, and you know what's who's doing what and when.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I could carry on, but yeah.
It's very, very complex, isn't it? But it isn't. It's simplified.
Yeah.
So you trading crypto, because I know you did your world tour talking about it. Was that?
Yeah, I've just been full-time crypto since 2016.
Wow.
So.
Okay. Are you still doing the forex stuff at the moment?
No.
Or? No.
No,
really?
just crypto since 2016. And the thing is, like when you analyze the global currency supplies, or the US or UK, like every major currency supply expands by about 15% per year. So, and have been for the last 50 odd years. And so everyone looks at stocks and property and go, oh, it always goes up. But you have to ask yourself, why do stocks always go up? Why do property double every 10 years, which is not true. And it's because the currency supply grows by 15%-ish per year. And it's just pure coincidence that the stock market also grows by 15 to 16% per year. So when you look at investing, the global monetary hurdle, which I look at, is basically 15%. So if you're sat there in cash and you're not doing any investing, 0% ROI, in a year you'll be 15% poorer. Yeah. In real ROI and purchasing power. And so even if you just put that money in a mutual fund or a tracker fund or whatever, you're not really making 15% because the currency supply is growing. So you're flat. Out. Yeah. So for me, I'm in crypto not because I'm just a crypto junkie. I have this overall investment criteria. So I know my benchmark is I have to make 15% just to be flat. But if I go flat every year and just make 15% per year, I'm not going to get rich. So I need to make something to hit my targets in a time efficient manner. I need to be making a minimum of 25% real profit, real ROI per year. So I need to make 40% ROI at least. So what asset classes out there can make 40% minimum per year? It's not stocks, unless you can time each stock. It's not bonds, it's not commodities, it's not trading currencies. Crypto and business are the only ones. Like in the early stages of business growth, you can do 100% year on year up to a certain point. And what I found with business is that it's relatively easy to go from 0 to say 250 grand a year profit relatively quickly. Let's say within a 2 to 3 year period, if you're at a mediocre pace. But when you look at the percentage growth, it's like 100%, 100%, 100%. And with
plateaus out.
Yeah, then when you get to a higher EBITDA, it plateaus, and then when you get to above $1 million EBIT, then you'll be lucky to make 20% a year or whatever. So, but with crypto, I mean, Bitcoin, ignoring all the other alts which have done crazy, Bitcoin is the best performing globally scaled asset since 2010. It's got 200% CAGR, compound annual growth rate, since 2010. It's nuts. Wow. So
they're not to be sniffed at.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, and it will always have booms and busts. But we're just coming off the back end of like 18 months of the worst crypto bear market ever, and Bitcoin sat there at 30K. And we're at the bottom of the bear market, and it's still 30K. I remember when Bitcoin was like $10, and then it boomed up to 100 and back down to 10, and then
it's stable.
Yeah, it just goes up.
Yeah,
and it's got a deflationary monetary base, so there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin ever. The last one will be mined in the year 2140, but like 90% of the Bitcoin supply is already out there. And so the banks and the governments are actually going to be the biggest pumpers of crypto or of Bitcoin ever, because every year they're just going to inflate the currency supply. And the more currency out there sloshing around, a portion of that will seep into crypto. Yeah. So yeah, I'm only in business and crypto just because of my investment criteria.
Yeah. So with like you mentioned about the businesses, because I've seen a few of your businesses. So what have been your best investments? Would you say what has worked really well?
So historically, B2C businesses of a subscription-based business have always been good. And that's because we've had a good handle on online marketing. So, when you plan out the client attraction journey, and then your numbers, it's a case of like, if you have something which is say £15 a month subscription, and you can acquire a new client for 20 to £30, it's like great. You just throw as much money into marketing as possible, knowing that in a month or two, it's just pure profit. But since 2020, and online marketing has just spiraled out of control since Facebook and Apple had their fight. And so I'm finding personally all my B2C businesses are struggling big time.
Really?
Yeah, but the B2B businesses are still solid. So these days, when I'm speaking to people that want to get into business, I'm saying really, you should look for a B2B business, SaaS, so software as a service, ideally utilizing an AI tool of some sort. Aim to have no more than 30 customers, 30 clients, and have a price point, a high price point, a high margin, so like £300 to £500 per month. So let's say £300 times 30, you've got like £9,000 a month in rev. After general OPEX, you've got £7 grand a month profit, and that getting to 30 clients, with £6-7 grand a month profit is relatively easy. And then if you get to that level, the exit multiple for a SaaS business like that is at least 5 times profits. So you then got an asset there that's worth 3 to 500k. So and you can do that relatively quickly, especially like with all of these new AI tools out there. The key thing is that they are literally just slashing the amount of time that one can do something. So for example, I've had in-house videographers for years now.
Yeah.
And any other company, I'm like, you're a videographer, the guy behind the camera. Like the average company that has an in-house videographer, they're going to be spending between 3 to 5 grand a month to have that person, depending on the skill and caliber, etc. But there's so many AI tools out there now which can just completely just slash the amount of time it takes to do stuff. Same with graphic designing and stuff. So like one thing I said to a business student I've got, I said, like, there are things like, let's take video for example. You could create really good videos in under 15 minutes. Like an absolute, like myself, I'm not creative at all, and I can make some good videos in under 15 minutes using all sorts of tools. I was like, wait a minute, why don't you just approach businesses, content generators, podcasters, etc., and say, hey, look, I can make 20 videos a month for you, video a day, Monday to Friday, for 300 quid a month. And all of a sudden you don't have to pay your videographer 3 grand a month. You're like, most businesses will be like, yeah, okay, why not? It's only 300 quid. And then all of a sudden you're now showered with lots of good video. I mean, yeah, so AI is not going to take away jobs. It's humans armed with AI are going to steal jobs.
Yeah, of course. Excellent.
Just a random thought, but yeah.
So, this is a very general question as well, but the future right now, like with what's going on in interest rates, are we at the high of the interest rates? Is inflation going to come down? What are your thoughts about what's going on right now?
God, there's so much going on. God, where to start?
Deep question.
Yeah, it's like when you look at the biggest sort of financial picture, we have the worst like culmination of big storm clouds all converging into the same space. We've got like a multi-trillion-dollar auto loan bubble that's soon about to pop. There's a multi-trillion energy junk bond bubble that's about to pop. We have the student loan bubble that's about to pop, which is multi-trillions. We have the pension bubble pop. We have there's so many bubbles which are all just converging around like now. Now, admittedly, if anyone that's seen my stuff for a while, I thought it would have popped, a couple of years ago. But because they just print, and they can kick the can down the road for a while. But when you look at the biggest trends that so far have not failed, you have interest rates, inflation, and employment. So the key thing is that everything I'm about to say right now is from, say, 1930 onwards. So if you look at, say, 1930 onwards, and every time you see interest rates hike up fast, what you then see, the moment they drop interest rates, you then have a market crash, as in a massive global stock market crash. So that's one thing to look at. So interest rates is hiking up, and then it's the moment they start reducing them fast, and they always do, that's when the crash happens. So that's one chart. Then look at employment. Now, I could wax lyrical about how unemployment figures are just complete hogwash. But if you look at the unemployment rate over since 1930, every single time we've hit record lows for unemployment, you then have a global market crash. So you've now got two charts. If you superimpose them, they're all saying crash is about to happen. You then look at inflation. So every time we've had crazy run-off inflation, what happens 18 months later or so? Another market crash. So those three charts, if you all look at them, they're all saying that we should have a massive economic crash, depression, recession, like towards the latter end of 2023/2024. Like they're all saying that. And those three metrics are barely ever wrong. And like if you take from 2020, we had the COVID stuff, and we just printed our way out of, we printed, like the US printed about $5 trillion just like that. So of course we're going to have rampant inflation right now, because you can't just create 5 trillion and put it into the economy and the economy not to absorb that monopoly money. So I guess on the face of it, economically speaking, it looks a bit sour. And when you look at what the billionaires do, not what they say, what are all the big companies doing? They're laying off people as fast as they can. I mean, the tech sector alone in the US, they've laid off like 250,000 people in the last year. Wow. And they're well-paid people. So, let alone what the whole economy is doing. So, yeah. But in terms of interest rates, so we've hiked rates at the fastest rate in history. I believe we're now pretty much at the high. We've just had the first rate pause in the US. Now, a pause is interesting. If you look at historic charts, every time they've paused rates for a couple of two quarters, stock markets rally, actually, which is interesting. So we'll probably see a bit of a blow off top. But the moment they start cutting rates, and they will, and the rates cut fast when that happens, we'll see stocks crashing. And that will then just drag everything down with it. Wow. So I'm at a bit of a paradox at the moment, because I'm very bullish on crypto. But if we have this massive crash, or there's a banking crisis, which, that's the other thing, it could drag everything down. If you look at the 4 biggest US banks that have ever gone bust, 3 of them happened this year.
Wow.
Yeah. If you take the total market cap of all the banks that went bust in 2008, it's about $500 billion. Those 3 banks that went bust this year is about $500 billion. It's nuts. Yet the public are completely oblivious to all of this.
It's because there's less media coverage on it, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. And there's more to come. So especially when they try and roll out CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies. CBDCs, so digicurrencies, they're not there to attack Bitcoin or crypto. They're there to attack fiat currencies like the dollar or the pound. So that actually will cause bank runs. So, but yeah.
Do you think, like, with what's going on right now, because a lot of people are saying that the property market is about to crash, the price is about to slide. What are your thoughts on that?
My ear isn't as close to the ground with property as most. However, from my considered perch, I look at a couple of things. So if you look at the British house pricing index, so GBHPI, when you look at it just on its own, house prices have just gone up forever.
Yeah.
But house prices have not gone up, they have not increased faster than the UK currency supply. So when you plot those two together, so if you open up tradingview.com and then look at the house pricing index divided by UK currency supply, what you'll find is that from 1987, the house price index against the currency supply has just crashed. There have been a few times where it's done quick rallies, but what we're looking at right now, based on that chart, is we're about to have another big dip. And the reason being is that when the Bank of England starts printing money, it takes about 1 to 2 years for all that new funny money to actually be absorbed into the general economy. It normally gets absorbed into stocks and property and then everything else. So what happens is that if, let's say, right now, they just print £1 trillion, just like that, that chart, HPI against currency supply, it will then drop like a stone. So for me, with property, I'm renting at the moment, I'm looking to buy when that particular chart drops. But also, it's a seesaw of it's highly likely the next crypto bull market will be in 2025 and should top by the end of 2025. So I'm looking at the seesaw of crypto versus houses, because my wife for the last, 14 years has been like, let's buy a house, let's buy a house. I'm like, no! So hopefully in let's say 2 years time, I'll finally buy her the house she's always wanted.
The forever home.
Yes, I've never bought a house. I only want to buy one house in my whole life, and that's the forever home, and I want to do crazy shit with it over the years. I want to build underground tunnels and bat caves and
Excellent. Do you know what? I was going to get onto that, so you've just kind of stepped into it. When I did your courses, and I heard your kind of approach on things, your motivation, it made me suddenly realise that actually the equity I'm sitting on in my house is just, I'm literally
obscene,
sleeping on it and pooing on it. So I thought it's not doing anything. Well, it is, but it's going slowly. So I actually made my wife listen to your stuff, and then she's been saying the same thing since then.
Amazing.
Buy a house. But we converted our house to a care home. Yeah. Rented it on a 10-year commercial lease, and now we're renting.
Yeah, and you've got a good yield with that.
I'm hooked on renting now, because the value for money that you can get on a house for rent, even if I bought it and mortgaged it, it's cheaper to rent it. Yeah. You get a lot more value for money. Between the kind of £1,500 to £3,500 mark, the increase in property size and everything is just ridiculous. Yeah. Now I can't see the value in, I buy property because I'm not trading yet. Yeah. So I'm trading property and trading stuff. So I might be soon, but I'm still on the property hunt. But I'm doing that on the property side on commercial, but then my own home is rented, and a lot of people can't see the logic in it. Yeah. And they kind of like, why? Yeah. But it's because of that. Yeah.
Can I add more context to why I love renting? Because people on YouTube will see this and go, oh, Simon just hates property. Yeah. But for me, I'm all about the cost of opportunity, or opportunity cost. And typically in business, because I've always had some form of residual income based business, whether it's subscription or some SaaS type business, etc. Historically, for every 100 grand worth of cash, I've always been able to pump that into the business, and that will chuck out 5 to 10 grand a month in residual income. Yeah. Let's say the lower rate, 5 grand a month in direct debits. Yeah. That's what 60% ROI, isn't it? Yeah. And sometimes it's 10 grand. And so I've always gone, right, do I plow a chunk of money into a house or get more residual income? It's always been the business wins. Same with crypto. So recently, or I say recently, over the last, let's say 7 years, that has been the main thing. But what you said about the renting is spot on. So at the moment, this is what, July 2023, so the house I've been in right now, we've been in for about 4 years. It's only 3.5 grand a month rent. We've got a 25-acre garden. It's like this massive mansion. Yeah. It's got a lovely annex, which we've always used for the business, so that can cover some of the rent, etc. But in order to buy that house, that's worth, you know, probably 2.5 million.
About so 2.5, 3 million.
Yeah. So if I was to buy that, you know, with stamp duty, fees, deposit, you know, realistically, you'd want a 25% loan to LTV mortgage. So you'd be blowing like 800 grand to you know, realistically buy that house.
Same house.
So then I'm like, okay, if I put 800 grand into my businesses, or hell, just into crypto, let's say the most boring crypto, just Bitcoin. Bitcoin will always win, you know, when doing that equation. So, sorry, honey, if you're watching this. So,
sorry, Samarine, as well.
Yeah. So I'll buy the house when I could buy the house, and it's like loose change, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter.
Brilliant. So
just my opinion.
I'm going to refresh our motivations and approach using this podcast. So thanks very much. So with your businesses, with obviously, we have touched upon this already, but like, so you're great at online marketing. So social media is like the key for business, really, isn't it? It's the kind of way to grow it. How important would you say it's been?
Yeah, well, from a first principles point of view, what does a business need? It needs sales. How do you get sales? You need leads. How do you get leads at mass? Well, you can't just door knock. No one likes cold calling or door knocking. So it's like, okay, you need online marketing of some sort. Yeah. As I said, in the past, it's been really reliable, but over the last couple of years, I've been, you know, knocked for six. I've really struggled with marketing, and not just me, loads of other people have, because costs have gone up. Which is why I'm massively pivoting more towards my B2B businesses, because old-fashioned like methods, offline methods are working best, like sending big packages of goodies and saying, hey, let's have a phone call.
Look at me.
That's working better. And I'd much rather have, you know, 20 to 30 clients paying, you know, £1,000 a month or more than 2,000 clients paying the same amount.
No, definitely. Fantastic. So we have to, obviously, you're here. You bought your beautiful car along.
Thank you.
So we have touched upon your cars earlier as well. So, but talking about cars and the market and the way the engines and everything are going, you were one of the first people I knew who bought not just one Tesla, but you bought two.
Yeah.
So how's your kind of love for electric cars coming along?
I do love them. Like, so I bought the Model S ludicrous mode one first, and that was just amazing. I did 60,000 hard miles of that, just doing 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds and stop. 0 to 60, 0 to 60, and it's like instant. You feel sick after a couple of launches, and it's like a nice party trick, and it's just a really good everyday car. And also, in those 60,000 miles over 4 years, I never had to change the brake pads, not once.
Wow.
Because it's all regen braking, it's one pedal driving pretty much, and it is an amazing car. And then we got the Model X for the family, because it's easier to get the kids in because of the doors, and it's the safest car on the planet as well. So we love that, and the range is good. So nothing but love for EVs. But the reason I've got that now is because I always try and look to, you know, what's happening in the near horizon, and please don't hate me for saying this, but like the woke brigade is getting a lot stronger, and I'm not denying climate change or anything. I don't want to go into that because that is a very nuanced topic, but I think over the next 5 to 7 years, that movement's going to get so strong that if you're driving around in a silly car like this, you're going to be hated even more so. And you're going to go, oh, you're killing baby seals in the North Pole by driving that, etc. So I think, you know, probably got 5 years of being able to drive gas guzzlers like that, and also in about 5 years' time, EVs are going to be even better, like way better, and we'll hopefully have level 5 autonomy by then, fingers crossed. Because my next plan, or one of the plans with EVs, is I'd like to own about 20,000 Teslas. In the UK, because I see ride hailing as a massive industry, and if you look at the charts, it's just going to be doing a vertical line upwards. In terms of miles driven per year, ride hailing miles driven is just eating up market share in that graph. So So when level 5 autonomy is allowed in the UK, as in you literally get in the car, put the address in, go to sleep, and you'd arrive. That's what level 5 autonomy means. Yeah. I live in Norwich. It's about 250,000 people, etc. I've realised that with that geo, if you had about 1,000 fully autonomous Teslas, you can have way better service and availability than say Uber is in London. And also, like the average taxi fare in Norwich, probably the same elsewhere, is £10 to £12. Yet the average taxi only drives about 3 miles. So if I had a whole fleet, to say 1,000 Teslas in Norwich, I could charge the user 50p a mile. So all of a sudden, people can now travel around Norwich for 50p a mile. So dropping the taxi fare from say 10 to 12 quid down to £1.50, and it still makes crazy profits. And so I'd like to start off with Norwich, and then if that works, then go screw it. There's like 40 other cities or areas in the UK, same like Norwich. I'd avoid Birmingham and London. They'll be their own like mini beasts. But then it's like, okay, let's try and find 20 cities like Norwich, and then all of a sudden you've got like a whole 20,000 Teslas, and then you've got a relatively big chunk of miles driven in the UK. And also, all Teslas have massive screens in them. So then you've got a marketing company, basically. And so one thing I'd love to do is be able to offer free transport to wherever, say Norwich to begin with. Because if I can get advertisers, like, I don't know, Coca-Cola, paint my cars red, pay me enough, whatever, and your journey is free as long as you watch this 3-minute video. I mean, how cool would that be? Reducing motoring costs to 0. All you have to do is watch a 3-minute video every time you go.
Rolling billboard.
Yeah. So that's my crazy plan, but we'll see how it goes.
Brilliant. That's really good. So, what are your thoughts about? Because obviously, the love for the electric cars is quite high. Do you think the hybrids and synthetic fuel? Do you think synthetic fuel is going to come into play?
They'll try and force it in, but again, from a pure physics point of view, hydrogen and all that, it's absolute hogwash. I made a video about this recently, going into the actual maths of it all, and the most efficient way to move a body in terms of joules of energy spent is literally charging a battery directly with solar and converting that chemical energy into motion via just a pure EV. Whereas when you look at hydrogen, yes, you'll see all the fancy stats going, a cup of water could power this for 500 miles or whatever. But the thing is, hydrogen is like the infrastructure you need to force in that hydrogen cars is vast. I mean, hydrogen it's an odorless, invisible flame. It corrodes metal very well. It's volumetric, so you need these huge, vast cylinders just to, under intense pressures, just to
hold it.
Yeah, and also to liquefy it. So when you look at EROEI, so energy return on energy invested, like at best, so you have the best, and also converting, as in creating hydrogen, is really energy intensive. Like if you take electrolysis, that's really energy intensive. So if you, let's say, put 100 joules of energy into a hydrogen car, at best you're going to get 50 joules back. Whereas with an EV, not an EV, with an EV, you're getting 90 joules back.
Wow.
It's insane.
So would you say the production, because obviously people in the media at the moment are talking about what we're not taking into account is the production and disposal of an electric vehicle. That'd be the same for a hydrogen car, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, EVs last way longer than the average ICE vehicle, as an internal combustion engine vehicle. I mean, there's God knows how many Teslas out there that have done over 300,000 miles. There's a Tesla in San Fran that's done over 1 million miles now, or is it kilometers? There or thereabouts.
It's still high.
It's still high, yeah. I mean, my Model X, we've now done about 70,000 miles on that. Still got the same freaking brake pads from day one. Needs no servicing, no oil changes, no anything. And a lot of people say, electric, the EV is more polluting than ICE vehicles. But the thing is, those stats are all really manufactured because they're taking a tiny snapshot of the chain. But when you look at, let's say, I'm looking here at a Porsche, what is that? Macan?
Yeah.
The whole infrastructure to make an ICE vehicle, or even that Porsche Macan, is vast. That thing has probably 15 to 20,000 moving parts. Each moving part is a whole industry. So you could take one of the little ball bearings in the engine, and okay, what does it take to make that ball bearing? Yeah. You've got like, let's say it's made of iron. You need whole iron quarries, and then the refining, and like there's literally like thousands of different factories just to create all the different components. The average Tesla has 10 to 20 moving parts. It's way less, and everyone goes on about how oh, you got people, kids in Rwanda mining cobalt, or cobalt, etc. Yeah. Well, so yeah, most EV manufacturers still use dirty chemistry, lithium-ion batteries, but Tesla is cobalt-free now. So they've changed the chemical makeup of their batteries more to nickel. So yeah, it's when you really dive into the stats, you'll see that it's all a lie, basically. And when you look at the whole oil industry, combined they make about $2.5 billion per day profit. Yeah. So for every hit piece they can put out, and every day that they can push kick the can down the road,
making a lot of money.
They're saving $2.5 billion a day of profit. So they'll do their best. And the reason why hydrogen is the thing that they're trying to push is because they're like, okay, well, if EVs and solar really take off like it will, they're like, shit, we've got trillions of dollars of massive buildings and factories that are just going to be completely put to, be made redundant. How can we reutilize the buildings and all this infrastructure so we can keep on making money? Hydrogen. We can convert this oil refinery into a hydrogen and try and
synthetic fuels.
Or synthetic fuels, So, it's more that you'll see all the big oil companies slowly pivoting into renewables, but they're doing it just to
milk it as long as possible.
Milk their infrastructure, and
What, from because obviously you're a helicopter pilot, you're an ex-RAF pilot, you love your engines. Yeah. You love the noise, you love the exhilaration, the adrenaline, because that's what most people are saying. Electric cars got no soul. Yeah. And they miss the noise, they miss everything. So do you think that's going to be a big enough reason to keep them going? How are you going to get your fix?
I think ICE vehicles will end up like horses eventually. We still ride horses, or some people do, because of the nostalgia. Like some people still have old classic cars and stuff like that. But like when EV tech, battery tech and solar tech really gets going, you'll very soon see how ridiculous ICE vehicles are in every way. Like I love that because it sounds amazing and it looks really pretty, but it's slow as anything. My old Tesla at half throttle would destroy that.
In ludicrous mode.
Yeah, it's nuts. And sometimes you put your foot down, you're like, and then slowly, whereas in any EV, it's just like instant power.
Wow. So, from everything kind of that and what you think, do you think private car ownership is going to die a death pretty soon then?
Yeah. I mean, the average person spends about £300 per month on motoring. That's insurance, tax, fuel, servicing, averaged, over a year. With ride hailing, I mean, if I can pull off my little Tesla play, like you'll be able to have motoring or transport way less than £300 a month. And also, like Elon says, the average vehicle is not being used 98% of the day. And a day being obviously 24 hours. The average person goes to work, it sits outside all day, you drive home from work to the gym or shops or whatever, and then you go home and then it's doing nothing. And so he calls them, he wants car shepherds. So he was saying that you could literally buy a Model 3, Model Y or whatever when there's level 5 autonomy or full self-driving. And basically when you're not using it, you can pimp out your car to the network and it will make revenue for you. And he said the average car owner that's basically pimping out their car whilst they're not using it, can make about 15 to 20k rev per year. So it's like, well, why not? So all I'm doing is just trying to amplify that business model.
It sounds all great and idealistic, but when they've done the car sharing stuff in Birmingham, when they did it in Manchester, in the UK, it failed because unfortunately the people trashed them.
Yeah, exactly.
And they ruined them and they left them on the side of the road on their sides and stuff like that. So unfortunately the public didn't respect the vehicles.
Yeah.
So if you go out buying a 60, 70 grand Model 3 or Model X, 120, 130k, do you think you'd let that go out? Like you'd press the button and let it go? Because
with the business model which I'm looking at, it's more of a taxi service.
They'll all be out anyway. Yeah, there won't be the private ownership. But you know what Elon's saying about the car shepherds? Yeah. And I could buy a car because he's 100% right. Because you think my car. As you were saying it, I was thinking, my car's sitting outside. I'm going to go home in it, or I'm going to go somewhere else and then go home. It's going to sit outside my house all night. Yeah. And I'm going to come back here in the morning. It's going to sit. I know. So 100%. Yeah, he's right. They do sit around. More than 90% of the day, and they are a waste. They're a waste of tech. They're just sitting there. Yeah. But it's my car. Yeah. It won't be for everyone, but for a lot of people, being able to hail a Tesla and get one within a couple of minutes, pay 50p a mile to get wherever they want to go, and people don't actually drive that many miles on average during the space of a month, let's say. Yeah, they don't. So, and it would just be a nice car. And also he's bringing out the mass manufactured version. So he's not calling it the Model 2, but he's bringing out a very cheap sub 20k car. Wow. So I'm looking at this as pure ROI. I'm like, okay, I'll buy the cheapest Tesla possible and then pimp it out for 50p a mile. Yeah, it's true. And there'll probably be commercial versions as well, won't there? So they won't be without leather and exactly. Washable surfaces. Same with haulage as well. So I'm also looking, so in the M&A space, I'm looking at either setting up or buying some haulage companies. Because if you take a company that runs an articulated lorry, it's about 100 grand a year to operate an Arctic. Yeah. Driver salaries, all the oil, the diesel, everything, the servicing, it's about 100 grand a year. Well, Tesla has the Semi, which is their, the electric Arctic. And the running cost on that is about 20 grand a year. So I was just thinking, well, wait a minute, let's just say I bought a very small haulage company that had 10 big lorries. So that's $1 million a year in OPEX just to run those things. If I had 10 Tesla Arctics, which only cost 20k per year to run, I'm making 800 grand savings day one. So I could literally go out and acquire a haulage company, cut, obviously with financing, get 10 of my Tesla lorries, and that's 800 grand a year saving. So it's instant profit, straight away. Well, not instant, but and then obviously you've got factories which Arctics are probably contracted to. You could probably then go and, hey, look, whilst it's unloading, I'll install a charger there, and also it doesn't have to stop every hour or whatever. You can drive 24/7, so you're getting max utilization out of your hardware. So so that's that. Or even to be easier, create a new industry called HaaS, haulage as a service. So if someone's spending 100 grand a year on a big Arctic, I can go, hey, I've got a fleet, you can use mine for 20 grand a year or 30 or whatever. Then I don't need to buy haulage companies, but I want to do both just to get data, really. So just for shits and giggles, really. Awesome. So that brings us to the end, really. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. So thanks so much for coming up to Birmingham today. And this has been really interesting. I feel more intelligent after speaking to you for this long. So it's been really, really good. So thanks so much for coming up. And I hope to see you again soon. And hope the listeners and viewers have enjoyed as much as I have. So thanks very much. Oh, no, thank you. Cheers, mate. All right, thanks. Hey, thanks for having me. Hope this chat helped and you learned at least something new. Don't forget to give Cam and MotorServ a like and subscribe, and I'm sure he's got more awesome podcast interviews soon. All right, thanks for listening and watching today. I hope that was very interesting for you. I know it was for myself. So please do like and subscribe to our channel. We'll be getting more and more podcasts loaded on, so keep an eye out in the future, and thanks very much once again.